what is the fishing crisis? Do you know what overfishing is? What about bottom trawling, bycatch, and ghost fishing? All of these things create the fishing crisis. An event that is unfolding before our eyes, the fishing crisis is causing many fish species to go extinct because too many adult fish are dying to sustain the population. First, let's talk about bottom trawling.
Some people don't realize the drastic and dangerous effects of bottom trawling, which is one of the many techniques used by fishermen nowadays with their large boats. The effects of bottom trawling is devastating to the ocean floor, with a single pass it can remove up to 20% of the seafloor, and it has the same impact as clear-cutting forests on land. And this process can go up to thousands of miles with bottom trawling. They're aiming for mostly slow-growing, long-lived species that have developed over millions of years to make the sea a more sustainable place. Some species may be gone before they are found. Biologists estimate that somewhere between 500,000 and 5 million marine species are yet to be discovered.
Our first question was, are you aware of overfishing and what that's causing to the population of our oceans?
Overfishing is when the fishermen take more fish than can replenish themselves. So in some parts of the ocean, the populations are really decreasing.
So, bottom trawling. It's pretty bad, right? As you saw in that video and in these pictures, bottom trawling catches a large amount of fish in a short time span, as well as destroying the ocean floor, coral reefs, and habitats in which millions of fish live. It can also unintentionally harm other oceanic species, resulting in an effect called bycatch.
Another dangerous effect of bottom trawling caused on the ocean is bycatch. Bycatch is a process of which fish that were not intended to be caught by the fishermen were trapped in the net and killed and thrown back into the sea. For every 1 pound of fish sold in the marketplace, 10 to 100 pounds of bycatch is thrown back into the sea. 90% of predatory fish, like shark, tuna, and swordfish, are now gone. Also, 90% of large whales and 60% of small ones are now gone as well. And just so you understand the numbers even better, for sharks, 100 million on average are killed each year. 100,000 albatross were also killed each year. And at this rate, by 2048, all species that we know fish will be extinct and gone forever. All that will be left are the similar particles like plankton and such, and all this will result in hypoxia, which are dead zones where nothing can grow anymore in the sea.
What's your view on how the processes they use to catch the fish on like bottom trawling and just mass overfishing?
Okay, well, there's a couple different problems. One is the number of fish they're catching, and the second one is catching fish they weren't planning on catching, or other mammals, other creatures, and destroying those at the same time.
Sure.
So that's where they would have to change the fishing methods to prevent either too many or the wrong species being caught.
Fishing is an effect that happens when fishing nets, crab pots, and other fishing tools are lost, discarded, or abandoned at sea. Ghost fishing traps turtles and kills them, which lures sharks and other predators into them. It can also destroy beaches and have expensive cleanup costs. Abandoned gear that falls on coral reefs can spread infections, parasites, invasive species, and other diseases to thousands of fish in the area. They affect the sustainability of well-managed fisheries, causing damage to boats and killing species with economic value. Ghost nets and other abandoned gear can be really hard to clean up because they often get sucked in the currents and are sucked out into the ocean. Ghost fishing is actually a lot more common than people seem to think. In Chesapeake Bay, an estimated 150,000 crab pots are lost every year of 500,000 deployed. Definition of overfishing is depleting the stock of fish in a body of water by too much fishing. These three topics that we've been over, bycatch, bottom trawling, and ghost fishing, are all contributing to the global problem of overfishing. Overfishing is actually a very large problem and is destroying our oceanic ecosystems daily. Naturally, this makes overfishing the biggest problem when it comes to the fishing crisis.
And what do you think those methods could be to help out with other fish populations?
I'm not very familiar with the methods. I know they were talking about long lines, I think, something like that, where they were, because the lines and the nets are so long, other things get tangled in them, and they were talking about restricting the use of those, and that's the only one I know about.
Okay. Fish farming, like salmon farming, way of gathering fish or just sea life for food instead of fishing out in the ocean and having that population decrease, or
there's a lot of negatives to farming as well, because they have to be really careful that they're not destroying the environment. Because of the fish farming, they tend to lessen the variability in the populations.
Sure.
So there's advantages to both of them. Ocean fishing is fine as long as they're not taking too many and as long as they're using sustainable methods. Fish farming is another way to also get to save the population. So much of it depends on how they do either one.
We have a few solutions that we think could work to fix these problems. We could make laws such as laws that limit net sizes or laws that forbid catching large quantities of fish in a short time. We could also invest money in crab pots that dissolve or nets that allow turtles and other predators to swim, stuff of that nature. And finally, we could have people monitor fishermen while they're fishing to prevent overfishing. You could send a letter to a politician or governor. You could support groups like the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. And you could also start your own petition or Kickstarter to gain people's awareness.